On the Charlie Kirk issue, people sending me questions, comments, and I've boiled it down to three topics: laughing, denial of cause, and radicalization of wholesome youth. Okay, so let's start with radicalization of wholesome youth. I'm going to go biblical and then I'm going to go sociological with you. All right, so biblically speaking, Lucifer was to blame for the entire fall of man. You could look at that as Lucifer made insanity normalized among humanoids or human beings, right? So he caused our entire species to normalize insanity at the level of development of human society. The first parents. So first parents teach insanity or ways of thinking that are ultimately not beneficial. Okay, we know that insanity keeps you doing the same thing without being able to face the truth of what you did. So there you go. We all know what insanity is. All right. So, but the technique that's in the Bible. So you had the daughter of God, and she was like perfectly fine, but then read the Bible and you'll find out that the exchange between Lucifer and Eve was one that made Eve feel as though something was missing. And in my religion, we call that lack of love. Now, lack of love could actually be that something is missing, or you're in a conversation where somebody shifts or helps massage your psychology into where you think that something is missing. Scientifically speaking, we call that pessimism. Okay. So sociologically, if you're around pessimistic people or glasses half empty people, they can massage your attitude into one where you think that even though you had an abundance, you're focusing on what's missing. Therefore, that's how you get people come from so-called good families where they have an abundance of something, love or money or both, and right. But you can still not satisfy a group of people. They'll tell you that you're not enough. They'll tell you that, something's missing from your life. The wool has been pulled over your eyes, okay? It's the same thing that Lucifer did to Eve, but these universities, and this is my case, these universities are having that kind of conversation with these perfectly well-balanced kids coming out of these families, and they're actually gaslighting these kids saying, oh, don't you know that you're actually missing something? Your parents didn't prepare you for this, that, and the third. And need I say more, that's the basis of the conversation that can make a kid who has an abundance of something feel as though they are lacking something. So how do you mitigate the fact that in the universities, you're going to send your kid to a university and, they're going to get radicalized, right? How do you mitigate that? Well, you send your kids to the school knowing that their need to fit in socially is going to be used against them. So if they're not going to be allowed to fit in, if they're going to be ridiculed by the social group that's there, they have to take the ridicule and let it fall off, water off a duck's back, because the tactic doesn't have to really sink into your kid. So you have to arm your kid so that they're not reachable. But if you don't know this, you're going to send your kid's going to be like, I'd sure like to fit in. And the social group in the school is already one normalized to say, hey, you don't fit in unless you support this idea, that idea, this idea, and that idea. So the kid wants to fit in, and, so then he starts to think, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I've got to change this about me. And also he wants to show off to his new friends that he has effectively changed. So he's going to go seek proof of that. And he's going to want to show that he's, quote unquote, one of them. Okay, that's why Eve ate the fruit, by the way. She wanted to show Lucifer, who she shouldn't have given a fuck about. She wanted to show this motherfucker proof that she was smart like him and had broken everything down like him. And so Eve cared about the acceptance of a guy who had ulterior motives to bring God down in the first place because he had a gripe against God. So Eve gets turned into a person that brings God down. Okay, much like this young man brought down his family and his entire religion. I ain't got nothing against Mormons because I'm not a traditional Christian, although I'm a Christian as well, and I can't stand that cult shit. I can't stand that shit by myopic people either. Okay, but Lucifer wants to bring down any viable lifestyle that, especially where there's a lineage, generation to generation, where people are gaining wisdom. He wants to bring that shit down.